Welcome everybody.
Welcome guys.
Welcome to the Overcome Resentment in Your Relationship Masterclass.
We are so excited.
We're so excited to be here with you guys. Thank you for being here. Yes. We're going to keep letting people in. We're going to give it a couple more minutes.
Yep.
We are so excited to run this masterclass today. This is the number one thing that comes up for all of our clients, and it was the number one block for us. So we're sharing from personal experience, lived experience, as well as experience helping our clients. So we're really excited to share all of this gold with you today. We love presenting and we love connecting and engaging with you guys. So we're just going to ask, if you can have your videos on, please have them on. We love to see your beautiful faces. We understand some of you will be with kids at work and all those things. Hello, so beautiful to see you.
Hello.
We love to be able to connect with you guys. So this is so beautiful. If you can have your faces shown, we would love to see your beautiful faces. Also understand though, some of you are at work, some of you have kids, it's holidays. So that's perfectly okay. We just want to really connect with you guys, and we really want this to feel like we are, we're in a room together doing this. We know we're on Zoom, but we really want to feel like we're together. So we're going to ask you guys to engage as much as you can. Use the chat. You're also welcome to ask any questions in the chat, and we will get to them at the end. We're going to give you all of the value first, because we want to make sure for anyone watching the replay that they get all of that as well. But if there is any burning questions, please put them in the chat and we will definitely check that at the end. You will also all get a replay of this, so you'll be able to come back to it. We do encourage taking notes though. We will go over that because that's how we learn. So we don't just take things in and then we remember it. Most of the time we forget it. So if you do have the time right now to grab a pen and paper, or if you like to put notes in your phone, just to have it there, because there might be some things that you hear today that you really needed to hear, or we may say it in a way you've never heard before, and we'd love for you to be able to take that away and then practically apply that in your relationship. So definitely do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're bang on time, so let's get started. So welcome to today's training, guys. Today's training, we're going to be talking about how to overcome resentment in your relationship, and this is something that we see is one of the biggest challenges that we all face. And so we're going to be diving into what it is and how we can overcome it.
Yeah, I'd love to get some ones in the chat if you have experienced resentment.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to put ones in the chat. We both of us individually have struggled with resentment. So let's get some ones in the chat. If you have experienced resentment in your relationship, you might even be currently experiencing it. And we just want you to realize that you're not alone in this. A big part of the reason why we share our work and our personal relationship is to reduce the shame around having challenges in your relationship. Because the truth is, no relationship is perfect. Everybody is having challenges, and we're all having them behind doors, and then we're coming out into society and pretending like everything's okay when we're all having the same challenges. And it doesn't make you wrong, it doesn't make you broken, it doesn't mean that you and your partner are not meant to be together or you're not compatible. It doesn't mean any of that. Thank you so much
Kate.
for the brave, courageous souls putting a one in the chat, because we absolutely know if you're here on this masterclass, you're experiencing resentment. We know that. So the first thing we want you to do is celebrate you for owning that. And, don't feel ashamed. And we know you might have some shame. We had that, definitely, especially when we started to get to that point where our resentment turned into wanting to give up, and we were questioning divorce because, that's the next step. There's a process that you go through. It probably started as irritation and then frustration, and then you started to reject your partner or resist them, and then it turned into resentment. And this stage is very vital, because if you don't work on the resentment, you will end up in what's called repression, which is where you give up and you think, we can't be helped, here's the problem, she's the problem, we can't move forward. The answer is the only answer must be that we have to give up and we're not compatible. And the problem with that is we take our baggage, our patterns, and our problems with us into the next relationship. Different person, same problems. So this point of owning that you are at a stage of resentment, yes, it can feel hard, but it's also incredibly empowering, because if you own it and you are really honest with yourself and each other in your relationship, this can be the turning point that actually makes your relationship. It doesn't have to be the breaking point, and we're proof of that, living proof of that, and so many clients that we work with have also experienced that. So I'm assuming that you guys can hear us, because we've got a couple
of ones in the chat. That's great. So that's good. Sound is working. Good stuff. And before we go any further, we have sort of touched on this, but we want to ask you to do something very important, and that is so you get the most out of today's training, if you guys could just turn off any of your social media, any distractions, just so you can take some notes and really soak up what we're about to share, because what we're about to share really has made a huge difference, not only in our relationship, but in the hundreds of clients we work with. So it is valuable information. You really want to get the most out of it. So
and it's kind of learning how to make your relationship a priority again, because I think we can all agree, some of you may have kids, you may have businesses, you may be working. Life is busy. I think we can all agree on that. And for a lot of us, our relationship ends up at the bottom of the list, and so do we. So, you know, let us know in the chat, you know, put a 2 if you have been struggling to find the time, the energy to actually make your relationship a priority. Because again, this is another very common problem in our modern society, that this is part of the problem. We're not making our relationship a priority because life is busy. We've got kids, there's all these demands, we're constantly distracted with technology, devices, all these things that are happening, that it is hard to make your relationship a priority. And we get that. We had the same experience. We've got 2 kids under 6, we live 3 hours away from family, we don't have family support. It's really challenging, and we want to acknowledge that, and we want to celebrate you for breaking that pattern today, because just by being here live or watching the replay, you are making your relationship a priority again. So you're already breaking that pattern, and we want to really celebrate you for that.
Absolutely. So we've got a couple of 2s there. Kate's put a 2, Sarah's put a 2, Cheryl's put a 2.
Well done, guys.
Awesome.
Celebrating you.
So our goal for the masterclass today, we want to show you how we overcame resentment in our relationship and how you can do it too. It's not that hard when you know how. How we help our clients overcome resentment in 3 easy steps, and how you can do it too. We want to show you what emotional intelligence is and how we can practice it, because this is something that it was a huge challenge for me. I had no idea what emotional intelligence was. I think mine was 0 when we were first in a relationship, and even up until 4 or 5 years ago now, I had no idea what was going on with my emotions and how to express what I was feeling. And it creates a whole range of problems in relationships if you can't express what you're feeling to your partner in an effective way. So we're going to teach you that, and also how to create your dream relationship vision. And this is a bonus that we're going to chuck in at the end.
And we're going to give you, if you stay to the end, we'll also give you the template that we use. Those last 2 points, they could be masterclasses on their own. Absolutely. So the emotional intelligence and the dream relationship vision. But we are going to give you those templates absolutely free. We include those in our programs. They're extremely valuable, but we just could not leave them out, because we know that those 2 steps help you to move forward out of the resentment. And the common questions that we get all of the time, and if you can relate to any of these questions I'm about to say, please put a 3 in the chat and let us know. But I almost know, or can guarantee you can, but the questions that we get is, how do you let go of resentment? It's so hard to let go of it. How do I just let go of it? How do I forgive? For men, my Adam's question all the time was, I was craving connection. That's what a lot of the women want. I can almost guarantee you're wanting to feel connected to your partner, but because they are not as practiced in their emotional intelligence, you feel like you can't reach them. You feel like they don't hear you, they don't understand you. And that's how the woman feels, but from the men's perspective, they feel like nothing they ever do is good enough. When you ask them for connection, they feel like they're already so stretched, they're already under pressure, they're already doing so much, and then you're asking them for more. And for men, that can feel like, well, if already what I'm not doing is good enough, how can I all of a sudden give you connection when they don't even really understand what that connection means? Because like Adam said, he didn't even have time or the understanding or awareness to know what he was feeling, let alone hold space for what I was feeling. So a lot of men will say, I have no idea. What does this holding space mean? Like, she's bringing me her emotions and it's like she just wants me to just listen to them, and I don't know how to do that. And this all comes back to emotional intelligence. Most of you have not been taught this. If you look to your parents' relationship or whoever your caregivers were, that's who you are modeling your relationship on. So it's not confusing why you're having challenges, because they didn't have this training either. Nobody gets taught this at school, which is mind-blowing to us, because relationships are the cornerstone of our lives. They're what we build our life on, and where we actually go for fulfillment and that deeper sense of belonging and happiness. It's so vital to our happiness and also our survival as human beings, but we're not taught this stuff. So if you're feeling like you're asking those questions like, how do I let go of the resentment? How do I forgive? What if my partner's not going to change? I feel like it's all on me. I hear from a lot of women, I feel like it's all on me to initiate the conversation, the communication, everything, and it feels like a pressure. And then for men, they feel like they're not good enough. They feel like they have no idea when it comes to emotions and how to be there for their women when they are really emotional. So all of these questions have come up, and they all create a lot of resentment in your relationship. So that is why we wanted to do this masterclass and give you those bonuses to really help you to overcome it. We don't want it to block you anymore. You can have the communication, the connection, and the intimacy, but you have to work on the resentment first. That is the key piece.
Absolutely. So we've been where you guys are. You've probably heard some of our story, but for those of you who haven't, about 4 years ago now, we almost got a divorce. We got to the point where things were really bad. I was pretty depressed, not clinically diagnosed, but I was definitely depressed. And it was really impacting our relationship. I didn't know what was going on with my emotions. I didn't know how to communicate effectively. And it was a really tough time. We were having a lot of arguments, and we had to find a way out. And we really wanted to find a way, not only for us, but also for our kids. We didn't want to be that example for our kids and teach them that this is what a relationship looks like. If you go and get married, or you get in a relationship, this is what it needs to look like. Because that was heartbreaking to me.
And that was a question we really invite you into, not to shame you, just to... Because we understand parenting is hard. If there's any parents, we get it. We're in the trenches with you. It is tough, and it really does put a strain on your relationship, and it did for us too. But we had to ask ourselves, if we can't make this change for ourselves or for each other, and we were at resentment, so we were really nearly ready to give up. We'd already been together, I think 16 years at that point, and we'd been married for about 5 or 6 years. So and maybe you're at that point as well, and you already feel like you've put in so much. To then get to that point, it can feel like, what's the point? But what it was for us is we asked ourselves, would I want my children to be in a relationship like we are now? Would I want my daughter to be married to a husband like Adam? Would I want my son to be married to a wife like me? These were the questions we asked ourselves, and that forced us to be really honest. It was a hard pill of truth to swallow, but it was really powerful, and it initiated and opened us into this journey of learning how to actually communicate, how to connect, how to, get on the same page as a couple, so that we could model that to our children. And we now have a relationship that we're proud of, but it was not always like this. From my perspective, I was just getting stuck in that pattern of wishing my partner would change. And, if any of the women watching, or even any of the men, have found yourself in that pattern where you kind of fall into the victim, and, you just feel like, God, I just wish they would change. If he would just step up. If, Adam was quite depressed, he didn't have much energy, he wasn't motivated. I kept thinking, if he just found a job he liked, if he just, just worked on himself some more, if the kids would grow up, if rough patch that we're going through would just smooth out. I kept waiting and waiting and hoping it would get better. And if you have been there, please let us know and put a 4 in the chat. Let us know that you have been at that point, or maybe you're there right now. And we get it. We get it.
Sure.
I see the exclamation marks. I was the same. I was like, he needs to change. And if he doesn't change, nothing can change. But what I had to realize is, it was taking its toll on me. All of that waiting, I was getting more and more resentful. And it wasn't just impacting how I felt about myself and my life and Adam and our relationship. It was also negatively impacting my mothering. I found it very hard to be a loving, present mum, which is what I wanted to be, when I was so full of resentment. And maybe you can relate. And I was on the verge of giving up. I did come to Adam for the first time ever and say, look, I don't know, I'm frustrated, I'm stressed, I wish you would just change, and I feel like I don't know how to move forward. I am questioning divorce, and I've never been here before. And it did shock Adam a bit. He was, even though things weren't great, he was kind of shocked that I was at that point. And although I wanted him to just solve that problem, yes, I know how you feel. Honestly,
Kate.
If you feel like we're talking directly to you, we want you to know that this is every couple that we work with. You're not alone, and that's why we're speaking about this. We want you to know that it's a universal problem. It's not unique, but the problem is it's too taboo. It's too silenced. It goes under the radar. There's not enough people speaking vulnerably and authentically about it the way we are for you to know that it is okay, and there is a way out. There is a solution, and it doesn't have to mean that you have to get divorced. We're not against divorce. We're not anti-divorce. We have friends and family who have gone on that path, but it doesn't have to be from this place of he's the problem or she's the problem, with all of this angst and anger, and it doesn't have to cause that amount of destruction. We can do it in a very conscious way once we have learned what we're going to share with you. And that was really important for us. And so deep down, I knew that the real problem, it wasn't just Adam. I knew that just blaming him, it wasn't a solution. It wasn't even a Band-Aid. It was actually aggravating the problem. We weren't moving forward. And I knew that I had to look at myself. And I believe in the universe. I asked for guidance. And the guidance I got very clearly was change starts with you, Aston. And again, it was a hard pill to swallow, but it was profound for me, because I realized I could have the relationship I wanted, but I was not going to have it by waiting for Adam or someone to magically come in and make it happen for me. I had to actually be the catalyst for that change. And that was the moment that I decided that I was going to invest in our relationship, in making it a priority, and actually learning what it takes to have that communication, connection, and intimacy that I was craving. And that meant looking at that resentment that I was avoiding. So that's what we're going to be going into. Now, we also want to share with you some of the feedback we have had from clients that we have shared this with already, because we want you to know that it is not our unique story. As you're already realizing, this is a universal story, and lots of people have experienced what we've experienced and what you're experiencing too. Some of the feedback we've had from some of the men is that they, like Adam, were very similar, believed that they were not emotional at all, said things like, I'm not an affectionate person, or I'm not an emotional person. But once they've gone through our programs, they realize they can connect to their heart. They do have a heart. It awakens something in them, and they want to connect deeply with their partners. And we've had that reflected back from several men. For lots of women, it's about, they realize that they actually need to understand their partner. So many women come in, like I did, demanding to be seen and heard and understood by their partner. And we don't get the result that we want. We end up getting the opposite. Our partner fights us back, or pushes away, or shuts down, closes to us. And that was our experience. And many women have experienced, just from a couple of weeks inside of Recreate, that's one of our programs. It's only 4 weeks. Just within a couple of weeks, she realized that she had a complete different perspective of her husband. They were able to meet each other in a way they'd never been able to meet each other. That particular couple had also done counseling. And we're all for a holistic approach, but for them, that counseling session set off a bomb in their relationship, and it created a lot of hurt and pain. there was a lot of destruction. They hadn't been talking about their problems, and all of a sudden all their problems were there. But how we work in our programs is we give you the solution. So we are not just, yes, you need to face what's going on for you, like we're facing the resentment today, but we're also going to give you the solution, because we want you to solve this problem. We don't want to keep you stuck in that. And they found within 2 weeks, she actually did the program by herself, and several women do this, but her husband found that he noticed the difference within 2 weeks, and he was then able to talk with her in a more loving, open way about those challenges that they'd brought up in the counselling session, and they now had the tools to move through it. Which was, just so, I love getting that response.
It's amazing.
It makes me so emotional.
And she goes on to say here that what I've learned, it saved my marriage, and it's so beautiful to hear people come in and they're having so many challenges, like this particular couple going to a counsellor, and then they 2 weeks of our program, and they feel like they've saved their marriage, and things are totally different. And it's beautiful.
That's what we needed when we were in this. We knew how to argue. Like, you guys know how to argue. You know how to talk about your problems. We needed someone to show us some solutions, and we needed some quick wins. Like, let me know in the chat. Like, give me a 1 if you need some quick wins. You're like, you're feeling like, oh, I can't take another day of this, let alone another year. It's so frustrating, it's exhausting, and it's draining. It is impacting every other area of your life. If your relationship is not working, it feels like nothing in your life is working. Parenting is harder. You can't get on the same page in the way that you parent, because men and women parent differently. You can't get on the same page with holidays. You can't even plan a vacation together and be excited about it, because one of you wants to go to one place or one of you wants to go at this time. It makes everything so difficult. And when we get this feedback, this beautiful lady here was another beautiful example. They actually nearly didn't do our program. It was quite incredible. We had been speaking in DMs, and she'd seen my work, and she wanted to do our program. And she was a yes. And about a couple of days before we started the Recreate intake, because we start at certain times of the year, she actually messaged me and said, my partner has actually told me he's had enough. He literally can't take any more. So it looks like I won't be doing the program. And I supported her in the DMs. I really offered her help and support, and I really felt for her. And it was so interesting. Within the next day, she decided, whether he's in or not, I'm doing this, because they have young children. And she didn't want if they were going to split, she didn't want it to be really toxic for everybody in the family. So she decided to do it. And literally then when I got this message from her that she nearly didn't do the program, they ended up literally doing a 360 in their relationship. She said, I cannot believe I nearly didn't do this. We did a 360 in our relationship. My husband hasn't even done the program, but he's noticed a massive difference in me. And actually, when she was messaging me, the next message she sent me, which I didn't include, was that they were on their first date without their children for the first time ever. And beautiful. That was just within 4 weeks. So it's just amazing how fast things can change when you have answers, when you have solutions to the problems that you're experiencing. And we just want to share them with you, so it's not just us, and that your problem isn't universal. That isn't unique, it's universal.
Absolutely. And we had a 1 there from Kate, from Dave, from Shell.
Amazing, guys. Amazing. We know what you're feeling, and we're going to give you some answers today, definitely. So we already know this is for you because you're here, but if you are questioning if this is for you, we just want to remind you, if you're feeling any resentment towards each other, if you're closing or shutting down, if communication is a struggle, if there's no intimacy, because if there's resentment, intimacy becomes very hard. If you're reacting, defending, if you're both stressed and frustrated all the time, if you're feeling more like roommates, this was exactly how we felt, passing each other in the hallway, talking about the bills and parenting, but not really feeling like a couple, not really feeling like a team in your life and relationship.
And maybe you've done some personal development, or maybe you've tried couples counselling, or you've tried something else, but you're just looking for another way, something that's more effective than what you've currently done. Then this is for you.
And maybe your relationship's in an okay place, because we have several couples like that. that they're okay, but they want to go deeper. They want to feel more deeply connected, and they want to communicate on a deeper level, not just the surface. You know, they've been together for a while and they want to take their relationship to the next level because they don't want to grow apart. They want to grow together. So that could also be you.
Yeah.
So if any of that is you, that's why you're here.
Yep.
We also know you've probably got some things in your mind, like we've touched on a bit, that are really stopping you from doing the work on your relationship. And we had all of these things.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was very fearful that Adam would never change. That I also thought that the only way that my relationship to get better was for him to change, and that it had nothing to do with me. We hear from a lot of couples and a lot of women. Sometimes the women are ready, but the husband's not quite ready, so they wait until their husband is on board. And like that lady I mentioned before, you know, she did wait, and then he had enough. Luckily, she then decided to do it anyway and be a leader, and they've been able to completely transform their relationship. But this waiting for your partner is not a very strategic move. You know, it won't get you what you want. It'll keep you stuck in the problem. Maybe you've been keeping your marriage quite private. Prior to 5 years ago, we were like that as well. We'd kind of seen that modeled, that you don't talk about your relationship, and we were really ashamed that we were having challenges. So if you're feeling that could be stopping you from doing the work on your relationship. Maybe it's also that you feel like you don't have time. You know, like we touched on, everyone is very busy. You kind of put it to the bottom of the list, and you might be telling yourself, maybe when we earn enough money, or when my business takes off, or when my husband gets a better job, or when the kids grow up, telling yourself these stories that the relationship will get better when everything else is perfect. But there is no perfect time, and we're always moving forward, so nothing is ever at that point. The perfect right time doesn't exist. You might be thinking that it has to be counseling. This was a big block for Adam, that you know, men traditionally talking about it is not the best way for men to move through things. That's why in our programs we do a lot of practical things. You get a lot of real life hacks or strategies to use where you get, you know, instant results, because men really need that. It needs to be practical and tangible.
And video content that you can watch at a time that suits you, so you can digest the information, you can reflect on it, you can take notes. We also do a lot of questions where we ask you a lot of powerful questions, and you can answer those in your own time. And it helps you to have your own realizations through your own personal inquiry as well, which is more powerful for a lot, like Aston said, than just talking about it. Because that quite often ends up in an argument when you already have all this resentment under the surface.
Definitely. And talking about it is different for men and women, brings up different things. Talking about it is quite therapeutic for women. That's why it works for women, because we're expressing and we're feeling understood and heard. For men, it actually raises their cortisol. So it does the opposite. So that's why we hear from a lot of people that they leave their counselling sessions feeling like it was just a bitch session. One of them kind of feels like they've vented. The other one just feels like they've been like emotionally vomited on. And that's not how we work. We're very much solution based. We use also a lot of meditation and masculine and feminine embodiment practices, things like that, to actually help you embody what you're learning. And lastly, some of you may be thinking that it's too late to save your relationship, and we have been there as well. And so have many of our clients. Several of the couples testimonials we shared with you, they were at that point. And it's just simply not true, because it's never too late. Where you are is right where you're meant to be, and you're working through what you're meant to be working through right now. Your job is just to acknowledge it and decide to lean in and do the work. That's it. You know, there is no perfect time, there's no right time. You know, I do wish that couples would check in before they're ready to check out. And that's why we share things like our coffee check-in hack, because if you could check in more of the time, you would not get to that point where you're ready to check out. But this is why we end up here, is because we're not making the time, we're not consciously putting in the effort to check in with each other. So that's why you're there, but we can, it's never too late to start.
No,
that's
absolutely
honestly what I believe.
So I'm curious to know, drop a 2 in the chat if you've asked yourself any of these questions before.
And if there's any we've missed, let us know. We've heard pretty much all of them, and they tend to repeat, but if there's any we've missed, let us know. Amazing. All right, so we're going to keep going because we
Yep.
really want to make sure we cover everything. Yes.
Amazing, Sarah. Kate. Yep. Awesome.
Amazing.
So we're going to be sharing with you at the end of this, at the end of the free training, there's an exciting offer we want to share with you.
Yes.
But regardless of whether you qualify for it, we just want to promise that this masterclass that we're about to share is going to be more valuable than a lot of the books, the courses, and maybe even the counselling that you've done previously. We really want to put as much as we can fit
Yes.
into this training in the next sort of, it's about 30 to 40 minutes left, I guess, if we stay on track. So we just wanted you to know that.
Yeah. All those the programs we're talking about are where those testimonials come from. So we just want you
Yep.
to know where that is if you're ready for your next step.
Yep.
And what we also want to share with you is that we are not just doing this on a small scale. We are really passionate
Yeah.
about creating a movement of making it really common and normalizing that couples are working on their relationship. And that's why you may have seen we've shared several articles on our story about our story and our relationship that have gone viral. We recently wrote one for Kids Spot, which is literally, it's showing up in the New York Post, the UK Metro, it's all over Australia, and we're really proud of it because we want to make working on your relationship simpler,
Yeah.
easier, common. We want to normalize it. We know that if you can heal your relationship, that's one way we can heal our homes. That's the
Yeah.
first step to healing the world. So we are really passionate about this movement. We'd love to
Yeah.
invite you on the journey of this movement, and that's why we share so much for free and we share so much value, and that it gets seen on these bigger stages because it's a movement that we're creating. We've also been published in Mamma Mia, Elephant Journal, Medium. All of our articles all share part of our story and also how we solve the problem, because we are here to help solve this problem. We want to see more loved up couples. We want to, not just for ourselves. Yes, we get to experience it and we deserve to be happy. Like, who here, put a 1 in the chat if you just want to be happy.
Yep.
You just want to be happy in your life and in your relationship, and you deserve that. Own that.
Yep.
You're not asking for too much, and we won't either.
Absolutely, Sarah.
And
Michelle.
the second part of
Yep.
that is that we want to really gift that to our children.
Yeah.
We want to show them how to learn how to be happy by watching your parents.
Yep.
And that you do not have to be perfect. This is why we share our flaws, if you like, our challenges, our problems, because we are imperfect just like you. We do not want you to look at us and think, put us on a pedestal and they've done all this work and they know better. No, we are still humble human beings. We still have flaws. We still have tough conversations.
Absolutely.
And we're now open to always having them. But now we know how to have them in a way that isn't destructive, that isn't hurtful, that actually creates growth. And this is what we want for every single person who is in a relationship. We want you to start to see your relationship as this partnership that is actually allowing you to grow spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, on every level, because that's what we really believe now about our relationship. Is it's our greatest opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
And if you can bring
Absolutely.
that growth mindset into your relationship and into your challenges, honestly, it's life-changing for you, for your children, and just for the level of happiness you experience in your life. And we want that for you. And I love that you guys all want the same.
It's so important. It's a really important belief. If you can adopt that, that'll help you. It'll go a long way.
Yes, just that one mindset shift.
That one little thing.
If you can see your relationship and the challenges you're having, if you can approach them with a growth mindset, what's here for me to learn? How is this trigger could equal some truth? That's one of our mantras. There's, I'm triggered. What's here? Get curious. There's a truth here. There's something that I can't see that my partner is bringing to me.
Yep.
If I'm willing to lean in, I'm going to learn something about me. I'm going to learn something about them, and we are going to grow. And why is it important that you grow in your relationship? If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
So, there's only 2 ways you can go, and we want to keep moving in the direction of growth. So having that mindset will help you get there. So now we're going to really get into the nitty gritty of what is actually holding you back. We know it's resentment, but underneath that resentment, there's always something else. So we want you to go deeper. We want you to start to think about, what is your story? What is your story around resentment? Because like I shared, I had a lot of resentment, and I was paralyzed by fear. I literally was so fearful that if I let go of that resentment, then everything that Adam had done to hurt me was justified. I had a real hard time with forgiveness, apologies, saying sorry. This is something I had learned. I'd seen modeled. Like, don't leave me hanging. Please don't tell me I'm the only one that struggles with this. Let me know in the chat. Give me a 2 in the chat if you have struggled with forgiveness, or maybe it's a fear of abandonment or rejection. Let me know. Thank you for letting me know I'm not the only person who has struggled with this. And I thought that my resentment was protecting me. I thought that my resentment was protecting me from getting hurt again. And if you can relate, let me know in the comments. I literally had a story that the resentment was keeping me safe. And that was a lie. And that was why it was so hard for me initially to let go of the resentment. And it got to a point where I knew I had to do something, because it's like what I was doing on a daily basis was choosing the resentment. I was choosing to hold onto the resentment, and I was letting go of love. Because you cannot hold on to resentment and receive love at the same time. Because when you resent someone, you resist them. So you cannot resist something and receive it at the same time. And that's exactly what I was trying to do in our relationship. That's why I was so confused. This push-pull thing was happening, because I wanted to hold on to the resentment, but I wanted to receive Adam at the same time. If you can relate, if you've experienced that push-pull, let me know in the comments. But it definitely, I had to realize, okay, I can't have both. So which one do I actually want? I wanted to receive Adam. I wanted to be deeply connected and emotionally in tune with him. I wanted to experience that deep emotional connection. So the only answer was to let go of that resentment. And so I made a choice. I stopped waiting for him to change, because my other story was, when he changes, when I see proof of him being better on the outside, then I will stop resenting him. Let me know if you've experienced that. I hear that one a lot. Yeah, definitely. No problem. I'll forgive you once you change, But it's a bit like exercise. Everyone wants to lose weight, but they kind of say to themselves, well, I'll go to the gym when I feel better. Well, you'll feel better when you exercise. So it's that whole chicken and the egg story, and that's what I was experiencing. So I had that realization, I had that awareness, and I was like, okay, well, if I really want to receive him and feel close to him, I actually first need to let go of this resentment. So it's not that I need to wait for him to change to be able to let go of the resentment. I'm actually in control of this resentment. I need to let go of it so that I can actually get what I want. Yes, it was still scary, but the current, dynamic in our relationship was also scary. I didn't feel loved. I actually felt like I was being abandoned. I did feel rejected by Adam. I didn't feel like I could receive him or he was receiving me. And the resentment was the reason that we couldn't have that connection. So I decided to let it go, to take charge and be the leader, be the catalyst for that change that I wanted. So I want you to think about, what is the story you're telling yourself about your partner, about the resentment, or about your relationship? These are some questions to help you. So, what is the story you tell about your partner? There is a story. I guarantee there'll be one story that I heard recently was, he's not trying hard enough. He's not trying hard enough to be perfect. I think that was the full story. That he's not trying hard enough is a story I hear a lot. Or he's not doing enough for me to actually want to let go of the resentment. He or she is not being who I want them to be. That's another story that I hear. So,
or they always do this, or they never do that.
So think about your story, and if you feel comfortable, share your story in the comments. What is the story you tell yourself?
He doesn't care. Kate said,
That's a big one that comes up. That's huge. And you've gone straight to the truth. You've gone straight to the core and really deep. So I'm celebrating you. For some people,
that's awesome.
That's why we've got several questions, because for some people they'll start on the surface of like their behavior. But then you need to ask yourself, well, what does their behavior make you feel, or what does it mean to you? Because we are meaning-making machines as human beings, and your partner might be doing certain behaviors, but they don't do it from the same meaning as you, And this is mind-blowing when you learn this and you realize this, that you and your partner are making different meanings. I can almost guarantee for you, Kate, that if you asked your partner what his intention is when he's doing those things, I can guarantee it's not that he doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not. But I can also understand and empathize that certain behaviors make us feel like they don't care.
Absolutely.
And that's
we had these. We had a lot of these.
Yeah. And it's a really common one that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Another holding on to toxic relationship story. Yes, exactly. So you were doing exactly what I was doing, using your relationship story as a safety blanket. But what's so amazing when you have that breakthrough and that realization is it's not keeping you safe, is it?
Yeah.
It's literally creating a situation that could be dangerous and scary, and it's not allowing you to have, experience what you want in your relationship. So I'm really celebrating you, and I know what that feels like. That's a powerful breakthrough to have. So everybody else, you can share what your story is in the chat. If you're struggling to answer that question, just ask yourself, how is your current relationship affecting your life right now?
Yeah.
How is it affecting you? How does it make you feel when if your girlfriend or a friend asks you, like, how's your relationship? If you felt safe with that person, what would you say? Do you feel, how do you feel? What's coming up for you? We've got another one come through. He doesn't understand me. That's another really, really common one.
Yeah.
And I definitely felt that as well. And a lot of that comes back to understanding the differences in men and women. Yeah. And we share a lot about this. We share the male and female perspective. We are not, pro-women, anti-men, or the other way around.
No.
We've been through the fire together.
Yeah.
So I get reflected back to me a lot from men and women that they really appreciate the way that we can hold space for men and women, because we have healed the father wound, the mother wound, the sister wound, the brother wound. We've had them all. I'm sure you guys have had them too.
Yeah.
We've had to heal them within ourselves to be able to see each other's perspectives. So it's a big piece to learn how to really understand each other and understand those differences and accept them, because most of us are doing the opposite. We're fighting against the differences. We're making them wrong. And what we really encourage, and our ethos, or our intention, is to come from a place of understanding, because understanding creates healing. From understanding there can be acceptance. There can be collaboration. The masculine and the feminine, the male, the female, we can actually work together like this, which is how we are designed to work. But at the moment, we're very much working like this, and we're just hitting against each other. And society really fuels that in the way it talks about men and women, and a lot of the advice out there is not very helpful. It creates a lot of separation.
So we want to ask yourself now, what's going to happen if nothing really changes or shifts in your relationship in the next 3 to 5 years? And how will that feel? Are things going to get so bad that you will have to consider divorce? How's that going to look for your kids? What are they going to see in the next 3 to 5 years if you just keep going down this road of resentment?
And again, this is not from a place of shame. It's from a place of curiosity, and a place of, because if you don't feel an emotion around this, you will have no motivation to change. Yeah. Because logically you could tell yourself, oh, it'll get better when the kids grow up. It'll get better when he has a better job. It will get better when we move house. Like, we all do this. We try and logic our way out of our situation. Yeah. But in relationships, emotions rule. So you can, and this can go in two ways. You can use your emotions to create destruction, and that's what happens when you don't have emotional intelligence. Or you can use your emotions to create positive change. Yeah. So if it brings up feelings of like discomfort and, if fear or sadness or, any feeling like that, just sit with it for a moment. Don't judge it, accept it, like bring it in. Don't push it away. There's no need to feel ashamed or do not wrong it. No. Sit with that feeling and allow that feeling to move you to an emotion. You don't have to go through it now with us here, but take the time after the masterclass to sit with that emotion. Let yourself feel it, because that emotion is trying to teach you something. It's trying to help you to get into the momentum of an action. It's trying to help you make a decision to make a change. And if thinking about 3 to 5 years does not create enough emotion, think about the next 30 years. Really think about what happens if, for 30 years you don't solve this problem. Where will you be then? What will the relationship feel like? What will the impact be in your life? What would you regret that you didn't do? Because yes, it can be hard to do something new and, try something new. But what's the weight of regret? That weight is 10 times worse than trying something new. So allow yourself to feel that.
Yeah.
And then the last thing we want you to do is ask yourself, what would letting go of this resentment, this story, some of these stories you've shared, like he doesn't care, he doesn't understand me, I'm alone. What would letting go of these stories and this resentment mean to you? What would it give you? If you could give up that so-called security blanket, and I know why you feel that way because I felt the same, but if you could take that blanket off, what would letting go of that mean to you? What would it give you? What would it give your relationship? How would it change your life? How would you feel in your body? I know for me, when I let it go, I felt so much lighter. I felt my feminine energy come in, which I had been disconnected from for years. I felt just more present to life, to my children. I felt more love for myself. I felt more love for Adam. I felt more love for life. Yes, it would create more space for healing. So beautiful. And when that healing comes in, then what would that create? It would allow you to break generational patterns. It would allow you to be happy, to enjoy your life, to receive your partner, to receive what you deserve, which is to be loved and to feel loved. You will gain so much more by letting go of resentment than what you think you already have. And that's what this exercise is designed to do, to help you to realize what will you gain on the other side of letting it go. And the last part is to ask yourself, what would I need to believe to let go of this resentment and get what I really want? And these are questions, the exact questions we asked ourselves. And for me, I had to believe that accepting Adam and forgiving him would actually inspire positive change. It would actually allow him to step into the man I wanted him to be, the man I knew he could be, and it would allow me to experience the relationship I'd always dreamed of. So would you need to believe that it's safe for you to let go of resentment? Because when you let go of resentment, you can receive love. Would you need to believe that, everybody's human, nobody's perfect, I'm not even perfect, everybody makes mistakes? Would you need to believe that by forgiving them, you're actually freeing yourself? So just ask yourself, what would you need to believe to let the resentment go so that you could get what you really want? And you may need to think about this question, so write it down. But if anything's coming through, let us know in the chat what is coming up for you, because that is a powerful catalyst for you to be able to leave this training and actually start to let go of the resentment.
Yeah.
So now we're going to give you the exact 3 steps that followed that process, that really helped us break free from resentment. We do not experience resentment in our relationship at all. And it was, prior to this, it was a normal part of our existence. It was an everyday kind of thing. Yeah. Things would go okay for a while, and then we'd fall, something would happen. One of us would not do something that the other one wanted, or, wouldn't love the other one in the way that we'd expected. Yeah. Because a lot of it comes back to expectations, and then the resentment would literally rear its ugly head again. But that is not our experience anymore. And you get to be free of resentment too. So the first step is, a lot of what we've covered already, is forgiveness and acceptance. And it really is about realizing that we are not perfect. No. We are not perfect individually. No one is perfect. We need to stop seeking perfection. That is the fastest way to erode happiness in your relationship and in your life. So the number one thing you need to do is to break up with perfection. It doesn't exist. It's impossible. You will never achieve it. Even these perfect Instagram couples goals, they're not perfect. No. So let go of the perfectionism. Stop seeking the perfectionism. It's actually creating the opposite for you in your relationship. It creates pressure. And when someone feels pressured or criticized, they're not motivated to be more. How many of you currently use criticism, constructive feedback, you might like to call it, coaching your partner, you know, or like just, you know, nagging. How many of you use those things at the moment and you tell yourself it motivates your partner? I've heard this, I did it as well, so I'm not judging you. But I've heard this from so many women that, you know, if I don't like tell him that not to do this, or if I don't criticize him, then he's never going to get better. I want you to really think about that in a job or with your children. Thank you for your honesty.
Kate. Thanks for your vulnerability.
In your job or with your children. Just think about it for a moment. When you criticize them and constantly tell them it's not good enough and this is a better way, do they actually do better? And even think about yourself. If someone does it to you, do you want to do better and do more? Or do you literally feel like going, whatever, who cares? If it's not good enough, I'm not even going to try. Yes, we hate it. We absolutely hate it.
Yep.
And we do it to our partner, 100%.
Yep.
It gets worse. And
totally.
that's exactly what I was doing in our relationship. And it's not your fault. You saw it mirrored by your parents.
Yep.
And the world kind of tells you, and the way our brain is wired, is to look for problems. But what we want to invite you into is acceptance. I started doing the opposite. When Adam was doing things I didn't like, I would literally ask my heart, not my brain, because just let me tell you, your ego is getting in the way in your relationship. You've got to leave your ego at the door and you've got to drop into your heart. You've got to listen to your heart. I had to ask my heart, can I accept this about Adam? My ego would always go, no way. If we accept this, he's going to do it again. This isn't good enough, blah, blah, blah. I would breathe through that, then dropped into my heart, and my heart would say, yes, you can. He is human. He is imperfect, just like you. And if it was your child, you would forgive them. So you'll be experiencing this at the moment. This step you're already practicing, but you're practicing it with friends or your parents or your children. You need to start practicing it in your relationship. Forgive and accept.
Yeah, and you're probably now saying, yeah, but he's not a child. He's a grown man. He should know how to do it. He should know X, Y, and Z. But he's a human.
He's a human.
And we are all humans, and we all make mistakes. And we all need a little bit of grace and a little bit of space and some forgiveness.
Yes.
And I really wanted to share something that I've been contemplating lately, and it goes into the last little thing on the slide here. If you imagine you're at the end of your life right now and you've just got like a couple of breaths left before you pass, what are the words that you'd say to your partner? And I think most people, it's that line, the very last line on this slide, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you. They are literally the last few words that most people would speak on their deathbed.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they've done a study on that.
Yeah.
But I've heard people talking about that recently. I listened to a podcast yesterday and they were talking about it.
Yeah.
And I really believe that to be true.
Yeah, me too. And
if we spoke those words more often, we would heal a lot of the stuff that's
Huge.
not right in our lives, in our relationships.
Yeah. And that's so beautiful, babe. That brought up a lot of emotion for me. And we actually use this mantra.
Yeah.
So we use it with each other. We actually will sit with each other and look into each other's eyes and just say these words. Or not even say them, just feel the energy of them. And there has been studies done on the energy of words like love, forgiveness, sorry, gratitude, compared to those words of like, I hate you, why are you like this, you know? And if it can impact water, it impacts your body, the cells in your body. We are made of water. So, you know, if your partners, we want to invite you into this practice. Maybe speak less words. If you're struggling with forgiveness and acceptance, just start with this mantra. I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you. And start saying it to yourself.
Yeah.
It can be extremely healing to look in the mirror in your own eyes and say it to yourself.
Yeah.
I
think that's critical. Yeah. Do it to yourself first before you try and do it to your partner.
Yeah, and then it's a gift that you can give to them because you've given it to yourself, and then you can gift it to your children. Our children use this mantra when they're apologizing with each other. You know, if they want to make it right after hurting each other, we've shared it with them. It's a common practice in our home. And it's so powerful. You know, you will start to realize you won't need your partner to change. You literally will if you practice this. So, you know, give us a 1 in the chat if you can feel the power of that mantra and if you're committed to at least leaning in and giving it a go. You know, just give it a go.
Awesome,
just
Sarah.
celebrating
Amazing.
you. Just it's so easy. There's such simple words. If you can't remember the positioning of the words, don't get hung up on it. Remember what I said, let go of perfectionism. But you know that what you mainly need to hear, if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling misunderstood, if you're feeling like they don't care, 90% of human beings feel like that. Our life is so busy and we don't connect in enough. But with these words, we can connect. So if you can just start remembering to say those words, you will feel more cared about. You will feel more love. You will feel less alone in your relationship. So that one's really important. The second step was healing the patterns, and we had a lot of destructive patterns. We could literally have a whole masterclass on this, and you guys probably all feel the same. We've been together 20 years, married for 10 this year. So there's been a lot of codependencies that we've had to break up with and things like that. Again, because
we got together when we were really young, so we had a lot of healing to do.
And maybe some of you guys can relate. Let us know if you've been together, 5 years plus. Give us a 2 in the chat, because we want you to know that actually sometimes that can make it harder, because there's some patterns that we get stuck in. But that is what we want you to realize. It's not that you're broken or your partner's broken. It's that there are patterns that you are running in your relationship, and if you can change the pattern, you can change the dynamic. And you can change the pattern. We've got 18 years, 10 years. Definitely, we feel you, we're there with you. And although it can feel challenging, what we're really big on is recreating your relationship. So often people just get stuck in their relationship, and this is what happened to us. We just kind of fell into this pattern in our relationship. It starts running on autopilot. So we had to start being more conscious about recreating the relationship we wanted to be in, and that's the vision template that we're going to give you guys for free.
And maybe you see this with your parents or with friends, where every time you see them, it might have been several months or even several years since you've seen them. But every time you catch up, their relationship and their life is exactly
the same.
And I'm not saying that's wrong. For some people, that's their life, and that's fine. But a lot of people aren't open to changing what's not working, to learning something new, to saying, I messed up, I'm sorry, and to allowing their relationship to evolve and change and recreate it. And especially after having kids, because you've changed. Everything's changed. And you have to accept that there's a new, and I think a lot of the suffering that new parents face is because of their unwillingness to accept what is. There's a new relationship there, but you're still holding, I know I was still holding on to the me prior to kids, the single guy, or the guy who was just had a girlfriend and we could do whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted. But now I had a little one and I had to be more responsible and do different things. So it's something to think about and to really contemplate. Are you open to recreating your relationship? And not just once, but every year, again, so that you can experience more of what you want.
And that simply means looking at your patterns. Seeing and just getting, the first step is just the awareness. Your patterns are happening in front of you all of the time. So now that you've done this masterclass with us, you will start to see them. I can guarantee you'll go back to your life and what I want you to do is exactly what we did. Don't try and fix it. This is where everybody goes wrong. Do not try to fix yourself or your relationship. Our approach is not about fixing. It's about understanding. So get curious about your patterns and just watch them happen. And interrupt yourself from your normal way of behaving. It actually is really interesting. It's really brings you back into mindfulness and helps you be really present, to just notice your patterns. That's the first step. Then you can build on it. Come and work with us. Look at our programs, read a book, and start to understand what communication actually is. Because it's not just words. Words is such a small percentage of communication. So learning all those things is then the next step that we did. And we really focused our energies on understanding. That curiosity piece became the priority instead of making each other wrong or judging or criticizing. It really became about creating a culture of appreciation, gratitude, understanding, and compassion for two human beings on this journey of life, which is really challenging, and just trying to do it together. So that's the premise of the second step. The third step is to acknowledge and fulfill your needs. Now,
this is huge.
This is massive. I want to ask you guys, put a 1 in the chat if you identify as a people pleaser. Because if you do, you will be struggling to get your needs met in your relationship. We both struggled with this. You know, if you're people pleasing in your relationship or in like as a mom or in life, you were probably a parent pleaser before. So many of us with our parents, look at all the ones coming in. It's so common. So many of us wanted our parents' love, and we had to be a certain way to get their love. So we became parent pleasers. We then have brought that into our relationships, and we then go and do the same thing. Try and please our partner. But when you please somebody, it comes from a survival energy. You did it as a child to survive, and that makes sense. But you're now an adult, you're a grown up, you're a grown woman or man. You now need to be coming from the intention of wanting to please. Not to please as in be people pleasing, but to be pleasing yourself, and then bringing that energy of wanting to please your partner in the relationship. And it's a total different energy.
Yeah.
It's an energy that is loving, that's a higher frequency. And in order to do that, you need to let go of all of those unrealistic expectations that were probably placed on you as a child, that you are now placing on your partner. And you need to start to welcome, you need to first, accept who they are, whilst welcoming who they're becoming. And this is a process of first learning how to meet your own needs. Because if you were conditioned out of realizing, a lot of you maybe even think that you don't even have needs. You know, Adam had
I didn't know what mine were, not that long ago. And what I realized was a lot of the resentment I was feeling, and I think the same is true for you, was actually because I wasn't meeting my needs. And you may be thinking, I don't even know what my needs are right now. But I started to get curious about what my needs were and how I could start meeting them very easily. It was, we were stretched as new parents, but I had to get curious about how I could start meeting them. And for me, it was just simple things like making some time to do some more exercise, have that time for myself to exercise, to read a book, to go down the beach, to go for a swim, to go for a run, just to have those little moments that were for me. Because as parents, a lot of the time, our entire day is spent pleasing or serving others.
And
our kids, our work, meeting everyone else's needs, and then we feel depleted. So how can you put yourself first? Maybe you could start your day by doing something for you, whatever it is that you like to do. It could be sitting in silence, drinking a cup of tea or coffee. It could be doing some exercise.
Journal, read a book,
yoga,
and
whatever it is.
And if you are struggling with what your needs are, the first step is to get curious and ask yourself, what do I need right now? Before your default, like a lot of people's default is, I'm stressed, I'm frustrated, and then you just go to your partner and say, I need you to do this. And then you wonder why they don't want to meet the need. It's kind of like when your child comes to you, but you have to for your children. But in a relationship, it's really about creating a culture of receptivity, of appreciation, of love. So one thing that we both do is actually first process our emotions or what we're feeling in ourselves first, before we bring it to each other. And I didn't always used to do this. I used to come to Adam and project everything and say I needed all this stuff, like come with this massive list. With
a lot of frustration.
And a lot of emotion.
And it was hard for me to hold that.
He had no idea how to solve it.
I would shut down, and I wouldn't say a whole lot, and I just basically want to leave. Because it was activating my nervous system. I was going into fight or flight. It was too much. My cortisol was spiked. I was stressed. And I felt like I couldn't fix it. I couldn't solve it. I didn't have the skills or the tools to know what to do. So it's really important that we process this stuff in ourselves first, meet our needs, and then when we bring it to our partner, we can bring it in a much more level-headed way.
And
without the emotional charge.
It's actually solvable. So put a 2 in the chat if you've experienced that, because we know we're not alone. A lot of us experience it because we haven't been taught how to regulate our nervous system, or even how to understand what our emotions are. So that's why we've given you the emotional unpack template. This template is the exact template that Adam had to use, because like we said earlier, he didn't even know what his emotions were or what he was feeling. So it was very confusing for me sometimes when he'd bring things to me. I didn't know how to support him because he didn't even know what he needed. So this emotional unpack template helps you identify what is the story, what is the problem, what is it that you're desiring, what happened, how did you feel. It gives you like prompts to really understand what is going on.
And will this story that I'm telling myself get me what I want? And a lot of the case it's no. So it gets you to then rewrite a better story. and a better way to deal with the situation.
Yeah, and the second part to fulfilling the needs is actually changing your priority system. So most people's priority system is work is first and then kids, or the other way around. Let us know in the chat what you would currently put your priorities at the moment. I can almost guarantee that it's work, kids, the house, family stuff, and then maybe the relationship, maybe you. And that's part of the problem. That system is not going to set you up for success to meet your needs or create the relationship that you want. To set yourself up for success, you have to be first. And we had to do the same thing. We had to flip our priorities. We had to make ourselves number one so that meeting our needs became a priority. We kept it easy and simple, but that was important.
Yeah.
Number two became the relationship. So we made the relationship a priority, and we started dating again. We started checking in regularly. We started making intentional time to connect. And it made the work easier, paying the bills easier, parenting the kids easier. It all became easier. And I know that this is going to sound strange to many of you, because like a lot of you are saying, it's kids, work, pay the bills, you know, and you and your partner are not even on the list. And that's part of the reason why we're not happy. And yes, it does feel foreign.
Yes.
We want to let you know that if you feel guilty putting yourself first, we felt that. It felt foreign.
Totally.
It felt weird. But
I question, am I being really selfish? Am I not being a good parent?
Yeah.
If I do that.
Yes.
And you might be asking yourself the same question, but...
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But just because it feels foreign doesn't mean it's wrong.
No.
The truth is it means it's actually change, and change equals growth.
Yeah.
Any form of change will feel uncomfortable. So, but that doesn't make it wrong. The only way you know you're growing is if it is uncomfortable, if it does feel foreign. Yeah. So with this, you actually have to train yourself to fall in love with the unfamiliar. Because at the moment you're in love with the familiar, and that's why you keep doing it. In order to change these patterns, you need to actually fall in love with the unfamiliar. You need to change your relationship to change. Because it's never the thing, it's always our relationship to it, or that meaning we create. So it can seem difficult at first, but what I say to clients is make it an experiment, make it fun. That's what it was for us. I remember saying to my husband, I started putting myself first, and I said to him, I've just realized I'm so depleted that like even putting myself first is kind of exhausting. It was exhausting in the beginning because I was like, I'd never done it. I was below reserves. But I said to him, I'm just going to give it a go. And I said to him, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to experiment with it. And I kept like a bit of a journal of how I was feeling, but I didn't even really need to. Adam noticed a difference instantly.
Yeah.
He actually liked being around me. He wanted to spend time with me. That was not happening before. My relationship with the kids changed. Our level of intimacy and connection changed.
Yep.
We naturally wanted to start dating. And it really inspired Adam to start putting himself first as well. And now, you know, a lot of you will sometimes experience like partner guilt as well, not just mother guilt or parent guilt, but partner guilt. Put a 3 in the chat if you've experienced that, where, you know, you'll have time away, but then you feel like you have to rush back, or you'll be comparing who's had more time than the other.
Yeah.
And it's really not helpful. And once you start to practice it for yourself, you actually start to want your partner to practice it too. Because what I found is Adam was absolutely useless to me when he was not meeting his needs.
Yep.
He would be there physically, but he wasn't there.
No.
His nervous system was overwhelmed, his mind was everywhere. So I got into the habit of meeting my own needs, and then, you know, Adam actually needed some help to be able to meet his needs. And I would say to him, hey babe, you seem a bit stressed. What do you need? Why don't you go have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like go do some breath work, even if it was like dinner time. Because I knew that if he had that 5 or 10 minutes, he would come back and he would give me what I wanted, which was presence. But I was never going to get the presence I wanted from him without him having the space that he needed to empty and actually give himself what he needs.
Yeah.
So
and it worked every time, didn't it?
Works every time. It still works.
Yeah.
And it's actually so much simpler than what you're currently doing, which is forcing your partner to stay or guilting them or all those things. So, you know, women really crave presence, but the only way to get the presence from your man is for him to be given the time and space to empty. He needs to be able to empty the day, empty work, to create space to be present for you. You know, men really want to feel, you know, physically connected to women. But we can't give men that if we have not created the space in ourselves to be present with ourselves, to actually, fill up on life, because women want to fill up. They want to soak up life. That's what the feminine wants to do. But if you're not filling yourself up, how are you meant to create that present connection with your partner? It's no wonder why you're finding it difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're not setting yourself up for success. So just that simple shift will set you up for success.
Yeah. And I will say that when Aston started doing that, the more she fulfills her needs, the more attracted I am to her. It's a natural thing for men. Men want to see their women enjoying life, relaxing.
How often do you hear
doing the things that they love to do? Yeah. Like when Aston's sitting outside having a cup of tea or a coffee, or she's reading her book and she looks so relaxed and happy, that makes me happy, because I feel like I've in some way enabled that, created that situation. And for a man, that feels like, yes, I'm succeeding, I'm doing my job, I'm supporting my wife, I'm helping her have what she wants.
And everybody does feel that in relationships, because it works the opposite way. If your partner's not happy, if they're if you feel like they're a bit off, you automatically go, oh God, what have I done? But if they're happy, you do the same. Oh, look what I've done. So let's get it moving in that direction. How many of you, your goal is really simple. You just want your partner to be happy. Put a 1 in the chat if you just want to see your partner happy and you want to be happy. That is all we want.
Sarah.
It's very simple. So the way we do that is by actually setting ourselves up for that happiness. We give ourselves what we need so that we can give the relationship what it needs. So the 4th step of this is the bonus that we're going to email it to you, the relationship vision template. And this is once we'd worked through those 3 steps, this is what we then focused on. We started putting our energy into recreating our relationship. And we realized we had never done this. Prior to learning this 5 years ago now, we had never sat down and intentionally asked ourselves these questions. And you probably feel the same. You probably, we get kind of caught up in what society tells us is the dream life. You meet your partner, you get engaged, you get married, you buy a house, you have kids, you go on some holidays, you get a good job, you buy a car, and then you start to kind of go, is this all there is? You might then find yourself just buying stuff for no reason because you're trying to fill that void. Let me know in the chat. Put a 2 in the chat if you have found yourself just kind of falling into autopilot, or what society has told us is the dream, and you get there and you're living it and you're starting to feel like, is this really the dream? I've got that thing that I thought I would be happy when I was married. I thought I'd be happy when I have the car. I thought I'd be happy when I have the house and the kids and the dog. Why aren't I happy? And we were experiencing that too. And it really made us question, had we ever intentionally created the relationship we wanted to be in, or had we just fallen into what society told us we should want, because apparently that's the dream vision that we all need to be happy. And we're all finding out now that that's not really the truth. And that's because for you to be truly happy or feel successful in your life, you actually need to turn inwards. You need to look internally, not externally, to what everyone else or the world or society is telling you. So these are a couple of the questions that we want you to think about, but don't worry if you can't really go deep right now, because we've given you the template.
You'll get the template. It'll have everything on there for
you.
And
we really encourage you to go deep as a couple. Make it fun. Adam and I have done this at the beach before. We've done it with cacao. We've had a cacao ceremony together and lit candles and had some music and really created some intentional space for our relationship once the kids were in bed. So, or go on a date. Make this fun. It's not homework. It's not hard. It's actually fun and exciting. We want you to dream again. Put a 3 in the chat if you feel like you have forgotten how to dream. You've become a parent and you've forgotten how to have fun. You've got so many responsibilities. You kind of feel a bit bored and just stressed by your life. We want you to experience more fun. This exercise is designed to help you. Let's get some 3s in there. Let's bring some fun, some energy, some enthusiasm, some excitement for our own damn lives. I mean, Jesus, I think we need that. We deserve that. So, these are some of the questions. So what is the purpose of our relationship? You're probably thinking, I have never thought about that.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's good. That's a good sign.
That's huge. So let's think about
These
that.
Are deep questions.
What is the purpose of our relationship? And this is something, the purpose of our relationship changes every time we do our vision.
Yeah.
So it's never one thing. As you evolve, as you grow, as your relationship grows, it will change. What are your top 4 values? This will change as well.
Yeah.
But we really encourage, do not have any more than 4. Because if you value everything, you achieve nothing. So get really specific about what your values are and get aligned. What qualities do you need to embody to create that vision? So, you know, if you say that this is the relationship you want to experience, we don't get to just say, this is what I want. We need to ask, who am I being?
Yeah.
Because we get who we are, not what we want. So what qualities do we need to embody? Do we need to bring more understanding, more acceptance, more forgiveness? All those things we've been talking about today. What behaviors do you need to let go of? And even deeper, what beliefs do you need to let go of? Because those behaviors are determined by those beliefs and those stories that you've been sharing today about your partner or about your relationship. Yeah. What are your top 4 goals? You know, get aligned with what you both want to achieve together, not just in the sense of what society tells us.
Yeah.
You know, not just the house and the car and the dog. Like, you know, remember that you had dreams before. You were a child once. There were things you wanted to do. And what are some things you want to do together? You know, for example, Adam decided he wanted to do a marathon. And that became a goal on our relationship list because I wanted to support him, you know, doing that marathon. You know, we wanted to plan when he could train, how it would work with the kids. I will never forget that day standing at the finish line and me and the kids are there as he runs across the finish line. That I was just as excited as him because it was on our relationship vision. We had sold each other into the vision. And this is where so many of you did it in the beginning of the relationship. You sold each other into the relationship, but then you stopped selling each other back into it. You need to keep selling each other back into the relationship. And that's what the vision is about. And this is extremely important, especially if you have businesses and things outside of your relationship and you feel like your partner isn't on board with it. It's because you're making them feel like this is your thing over here and it's got nothing to do with them. But if you invite them into it and you sell them into it, you sell them into the vision of what it's going to create, not just for you, but for us, your family, your life, they will be excited. They will want to support you, but you have to sell them into it. And we teach you how to do that. Kate said we've been working on the relationship, but then life takes over and we put the kids first again. Yes, and that can happen, definitely. Having a vision will become your North Star.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we have personally found.
Yeah, and we print ours out, or we actually have it in a physical copy where we stick it up so we see it every day, and that's really helpful too.
Yeah, definitely. It's up in our house. It's on our phones. And along with the template is a vision board, so you can have visuals. If you're a vision person, that'll help you as well. But it literally does become your North Star, so you know where you're going. So now we want to ask you, if you knew that you could easily overcome this resentment that you've been feeling, those stories you've been telling yourself, and you could actually experience the deeper communication and connection and more intimacy, and even just the happiness that you want to be experiencing in your relationship.
Absolutely.
If you knew that you could actually achieve that, would you be willing to invest in your relationship? If you were able to experience like you've said, the understanding, if you knew you would feel cared for, understood by your partner, and we could give you the tools and the confidence and the strategies to actually achieve that in your relationship and know it was possible for you, would you be willing to invest in your relationship? Would you be willing to make it a priority? And the willing is really important because we know every one of you is capable. We've had over 50 people register for this masterclass. Not everybody has shown up live, and that's okay. There's no judgment, but it does show us who is actually willing to make their relationship a priority. Everybody says they want these things, but not everybody is willing to do what it takes to get it. And just by being here, we already know that you're in that 1% and that you are more willing. So we want to celebrate you. But you can do this on your own. Like Kate said, you can start making your relationship a priority, do the practices, do what we've shared. But what we know happens is you end up falling off. And it is hard to stay on track. That is just the truth. It's the truth for everybody. It was the truth for us as well. The thing that made the biggest difference is asking ourselves why we needed to solve it now. So why it needed to be a priority now. like for us and for many of you, it's because you're at breaking point.
Yeah.
It's because you don't want to model this to your children. It's because you've tried counseling or other things and it's not been successful. You feel like you're growing apart and you're wondering if there is any point. And you know that if nothing changes, then the relationship will end. And that's exactly the motivation that we needed to create that willingness.
Yeah,
motivation
absolutely.
doesn't come by itself. You have to actually seek it, you know? And
Yeah.
we had to be really honest with ourselves. And once we were, it became very clear that we had to make it a priority and we had to be willing to go all in. We had to be willing to do the work. And you know, like I said, we've been very vulnerable, very real about our experience. We would be lying if we said that what we've shared today is just going to work for everybody and solve everybody's problem. And we're very transparent that these things we've shared do work, but they won't work for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's because for some of you, there's some nuances, there's some specific things that have happened that may need more attention, that may need different strategies or may need a deeper understanding. And we get that because we had some of that as well. And that's okay. The fastest, easiest way to actually overcome resentment in your relationship is to get the support and help and the accountability, as well as the tools and the new information. You need to be able to learn something new. You need to be able to be supported to embody that change so that you can actually experience it. And that's why for the next 5 couples, we're going to offer you a free 45-minute relationship breakthrough session where you'll receive completely free coaching with me or Adam, completely free. We will help you on the call with your specific situation in your relationship because we know that it isn't cookie cutter for everybody. So we've got a link that we'll put in the chat for you. You can click that link. There'll be a very short questionnaire for you to answer just for us to understand your specific situation because like I said, this is not a cookie cutter approach. There is limited spots for these calls because obviously we run a business, we have 2 young children, we don't have a lot of time that we can offer for these as well as servicing our existing clients. But we do offer them because we know that there are some people that need more support. And we don't want to just give that blanket kind of way of dealing with it because we understand relationships are complex, they're layered, there is, you know, there's a lot to unpack. So if that is you and you feel like this has been helpful but there's more that you need, please take advantage, click that link. We'll also send it to you in an email. If you can't get in, you can, because they do fill up really fast, there is not a lot of spots, you can book in a couple of weeks after. So don't get discouraged if you can't see a spot. Just wait for a spot to show up, or send me an email and let me know like you really want to do a call, but you can't find a time that works, and we will do our best to accommodate you. But on this call, we're going to be covering exactly how you can overcome resentment for your specific situation, so that you can experience that connection, communication that you deeply desire. We'll also share the process that we've used to help hundreds of our clients that have also been on the brink of divorce, because like we said, this is not a unique problem. You know, the divorce rate is like well into at least 50%. Most people are even questioning in today's world whether marriage is worth it. And that is because we haven't been taught any of this stuff. It's because we don't have the education, we don't have the tools, we don't have the understanding. It's not confusing why the younger generation is really questioning whether marriage is something they want to consider, and why it's becoming later and later and later, because they're also seeing their parents and their family and all the destruction and all those things. So we really want to create a movement that helps to heal that and solve that problem. So we're going to be sharing exactly what you need to do, even if you feel like your partner is not on board. Even if your partner is full of resentment. Like we've shared so many examples today, there is a lot of, it's very common that the partner isn't on board as you think. A lot of the time they are. It's just the way you're bringing it, or it's the resentment that's blocking it. So so if you're feeling like, oh, you know, I don't know if my partner's on board, I want to do a call, what if they're not there? It doesn't matter. We can help you regardless. So many women, and my experience as well, but so many women we've helped, it was the woman that went first. She was the activator of the change. She was the leader. And you can be that in your life as well. Women are so powerful in that way. So don't don't let that story of like fearing that your partner won't change or they won't be on board, don't let that stop you from getting what you want, because it doesn't need to. You'll still get lots of value from the call. We'll listen to you. You'll be able to share your story, go deeper into everything that's been happening for you guys, and then we'll figure out a way together so that you can move forward in your relationship. I love these calls. And the feedback we get all the time is literally after one call, they already feel positive about moving forward. They believe it's possible for them. They know that they can do it, which is what we want. We really want you to feel like you're coming out of the dark and into the light. You're going to get a very specific relationship plan for you and your situation. You might be thinking, why are we doing this? Lots of people say this because really we could charge for our free calls. We definitely could, and we probably should. But it's because we've been there. We've physically been there, so we actually really care. You're not a number to us. We really care because we've been there. And because we've had so many people go through this process and they have been so happy with their results. So, you know, we find it very easy to get clients because we share our experience. We share, like even, you know, on worldwide, we share articles and things like that, giving away our secrets as such, because we know that they work. And when people see them, they come and work with us. So it always works for us to give. We love to give, and that's why we do it. It's not hard for us to get clients. We have a lot of other coaches, a lot of other relationship coaches and coaches actually ask to work with us, or ask if we can teach them in what we do because of the way we do it. So that's why we give it away for free. It is so valuable, and we could and probably should charge for it, but that's why we do give it away for free. There is a catch though, we cannot help everyone, and that's what we've said to you already. You know, we only open up 5 spots for these, and it is only for people who are willing and ready to do the work. If you're ready to get over the resentment, if you're ready and committed to do the work, if you're actually excited about waking up to a new relationship, if you've got that energy to put into your relationship, and if you're committed to recreating your relationship and making it happen, then you are the people that we want to work with. If you just want to complain about your partner, if you're not willing to take responsibility for your part, if you just want to wait for them to change, this is not the right, we're not the right people for you. We really, we can't help you. Unless you want to help yourself, we can't help you. So we must make it clear that it is not for you if you just want to blame your partner, and you just want it to be their fault, and that's the only way you want to deal with it, then we can't help you. Like I said, we've got a very limited amount of spots available. Please only book in if you are committed, if you are willing, if you are serious. We don't want to waste your time or ours. But if you are ready to actually make this change, you don't want to waste any more time, you don't want to hurt each other anymore. Like there's so much unnecessary hurt that is happening, that, you know, can be hard to forgive. And if you want to avoid that, and you really want to create what you want in your relationship in the next 90 days, we want to give you your next steps. And once we've given you your next steps, then we'll be wrapping up the call. So the option 1 is to go it alone, is to try and do it by yourself, read some books, put it in the you'll do it later pile, which never happens, keep resenting your partner, and then it just builds upon year and gets worse. Pray for things to get better and hope that it happens on their own.
We did that for a while. Didn't work very well.
Didn't work. It actually got worse. So we hope that you learn from our mistake. Or maybe you know, it's going to end in you guys feeling unfulfilled and then even questioning divorce for yourselves like we did. Or you can take option 2, and this is the first step. So for some of you, the next best step will be to learn how to recreate your relationship. We have a 4-week Recreate Your Relationship program. It's all online, it's self-paced, but we only take 10 people into this program. We've already taken 3 in this month. So there isn't many spots left. And like I said, we've had over 50 people register for this masterclass, and it will be going out in the email. So there will only be limited spots. It's all online. They're short modules that you watch, no more than an hour per week, because we're aware that the time commitment can be hard for parents. It gives you daily actions to implement. So you learn something and you implement the daily action, and you learn how to create that vision that we've been talking about together, so that you feel excited about your future. the first couple of testimonials we shared of the couple that were on the brink of divorce actually did break up, but then the lady did the program. They then got back together, and they literally did a 360 in their relationship in 4 weeks. And that was her words. They started dating and the relationship completely changed.
Yeah.
They had not been dating or connecting or even communicating.
Yeah.
So that is the option for the ones of you who are ready and willing to do the work.
Yep.
You feel like you are ready to let go of the resentment and you want to start recreating your relationship. We've got and we will put the link to that program in the email as well, and also in the chat. If you think you've already done that, because some of you may have done it, there is another option for you that will go deeper, because the 4-week program is more for couples that are already ready and willing to do the work. They're already kind of in the work and they're ready to just focus on where they're going. But some of you will still have a lot of resentment that you need to work through, and we're aware of that. And that's why we put in option 3. So if that is you, you will need to book in a call to receive more support on the call first. So we'll give you more help on the call.
And that is the link that we first pasted in the chat, by the way.
Yes.
So if you book in a call, we'll be able to give you some support on the call, and we can also tell you about our Ignite and Unite program, which is our high-level way of working with us one-on-one. So you get the one-on-one support, you get an online program, you get everything possible to making the changes as easy and as fast as possible.
Yeah. And it's everything we've touched on today, like understanding the differences in men and women, masculine and feminine energy, how to embody that, communication, what does that even mean? How do you communicate? If it's not really about words, what is it about? So
emotional intelligence is in there, overcoming resentment's in there. Everything you can think of which actually works in a relationship in today's world is in this program.
And the results that we're getting from this program are insane. Like, this program was developed from our own journey. So every single step is very intentional, and that's the feedback that we get. Every time we get the feedback that it's very well thought out and it makes sense as in real life, because this isn't from a book, it's from real life experience. And that's the difference with us. We've actually been there. So we know what you don't know, and we know what you need to know in order to make those changes and shifts in your relationship. We had one couple that shared that after they'd had children, they really felt like they lost each other. And, put a 1 in the chat if you feel that, because a lot of people feel that once they have kids, they feel like they're going different directions, they're growing apart. And like for them, it really became that they were trying to win. And she realized after doing Ignite and Unite that they were no longer trying to win. They were actually working together, communicating differently. She had more trust. She felt safer with her husband. They were experiencing more connection, more intimacy. They were happier because they had learnt this. We always get feedback that they have so many realizations about the differences in men and women that everyone is like mind blown when they learn that. And it helps them to literally halve the amount of arguments and fights that they're currently having, because so many of your fights are actually about the differences in men and women. And they realize how shut down they've been, and how they then learn how to open back up, and how I was talking about getting into their heart. They learn how to get into their heart. A lot of women share that they've let go of being so controlling. They realize they were in their masculine and they've now come back to their feminine, and they're enjoying their life, and their husband is naturally stepping up. They don't need to force or tell him or fight him to step up. He's naturally stepping up because he wants to do that if you create the right environment for it, which a lot of us have not been taught how to do that. Learning how to be vulnerable, that's been so big for so many of our clients who really struggled with that. And they just love being able to lean into vulnerability with the tools that we shared, because a lot of it is very practical as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Shell just put in the chat here, I think I've already completed this. This link here above your comment, Shell, is actually for a call with Aston. So if you haven't had a one-on-one call with Aston, that is a different link to what you've completed previously. You may be thinking about the survey for this particular masterclass today.
Yes,
but
maybe.
that link there is for a call. So if you haven't booked in a call and you want one, click that link and claim one of the 5 that's available.
Yep. So like I said, if you can't find a time that works, just email me and let me know, and we will open it up for you, but there are limited spots. And we're going to be sending all your bonuses to you. So yeah, we didn't include them in today because it would have taken it even further over. Sorry that we've gone slightly over for anybody who needs to go. That's totally okay. We always, like I said, over deliver and give more than you ask, because that's really important to us. We really care.
Yeah.
We want you to feel that happiness that you want in your relationship. So we will send you a copy of both of the bonuses that we promised, the emotional unpack template and the vision template to recreate your relationship.
Yeah.
We just want to thank you guys so much for being here today.
Huge thank you, guys.
Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for, playing full out. You guys were in the chat. It made it really engaging for us. We felt like you were here with us in the room, and that's what we really wanted. We hope that you got some value from today, and we know you have, because we can feel that already. Thank you so much for your
feedback.
feedback.
That's awesome.
Really appreciate
it. So glad you
it.
found it helpful.
And we'll send you an email with all of the links, also with a replay. You can go back over this. Like we said, take notes, because that's how it goes in. Practice what you've learned in this session, because we can know things, but if you're not practicing them, then you don't actually understand them. So we want you to start practicing what you've learned. Like we said, make it easy, keep it simple. And if you know that you need more support, look at those options. Do not go it alone. You don't have to suffer. It doesn't have to be hard. Don't struggle. Reach out.
You could literally be 3 months down the road and have the relationship looking so different to where you are now if you just reach out and get the support you need.
Definitely.
So book in a call with us. We're happy to help you.
And if you're not quite ready to book in a call, that's okay. That's why we've given you the option for recreate your relationship. We still want you to move forward. So use that link that we've put in the chat, and we'll put it in your email. But like I said, there are limited spots for both. So if you are feeling like this was valuable and you want more, make sure you take the next step, because there's only the two of us. We can't help everybody. So make sure you take advantage of it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for playing full out.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Shell. I really appreciate you. And thank you, Kate. Kate was really engaging as well. We really appreciate it. We're going to get this sent over to you guys within the next 48 hours. And hopefully we look forward to seeing some of you on a Zoom call or inside one of our programs. Thank you for being here, guys. Mwah. Big love to you all.
Guys.
Thank you.